Good day, everyone. Welcome to Real Conservative Headline News. I'm your host, Nathaniel. Rajkumar. Here are today's headlines. National Gas Company of Trinidad and Tobago records a landmark $3.46 billion profit for 2025, a 111% surge, as Chairman Gerald Ramdeen attributes the historic performance to internal execution, while firmly rejecting claims of political credit from former officials. Proper management is what we call it. Now, the thing about it is, PNM can take a certain amount of credit. They did set the foundation for certain deals to take place. And anyone with a reasonable mind that isn't only totally obsessed with politics will admit that. It's just that PNM cannot manage anything. I don't even think they could manage their own lives, their own personal lives, far less for anything else. Public Utilities Minister Barry Padarath dismisses claims of state interference after police cite state of emergency regulations to revoke permission for a CW wage demonstration, a protest, in other words, outside TSCT House. I'm not falling for that one. That ain't making no sense, people. That ain't making no sense. Somehow I feel the government was involved, and it's why the state of emergency needs to end, because people need to have the rights in order to be able to peacefully protest anywhere in Trinidad and Tobago. St. Vincent and the Grenadines prepares to welcome a Taiwanese business delegation to explore key investments in tourism, solar energy, and the Utley Hall Marina. Federal authorities turn to former mob underboss Sammy the Bull Gravano, not Guevara, Gravano, to evaluate organized crime terminology in the ongoing 8647 case against FBI Director James Comey. Yeah, James Comey pretending a big former FBI director. You didn't know what 8647 means. Yeah, right. You can mess us with that. Of course, stay for the news for the details. The National Gas Company of Trinidad and Tobago has recorded its highest profit after tax in more than 10 years, reporting $3.46 billion for the financial year ending December 31st, 2025. That is due to much better management under the UNC, my dear people. The figure represents a 111% surge going up from the $1.64 billion profit declared in 2024. Speaking at a news conference held at the Hyatt Regency, NGC Chairman Gerald Ramdeen assured stakeholders that the company's financial momentum will continue into 2026. Once you're managing properly, that it will continue. Ramdeen attributed the dramatic turnaround to internal performance and strategic execution, noting that 100% increases in both return on equity and on return on assets. He firmly rejected claims by former Energy Minister Stuart Young, aka, in my opinion, Zami Young, who argued that the financial gain stemmed from negotiations initiated by the previous administration. Oh, come on, man. Of course, you ought to give PNM a little bit of credit. Ramdeen, you could give them a little bit of credit. That doesn't mean that they're good at governing the country, but they did set the foundation for certain deals. You could acknowledge that. Nothing is wrong with that. But Zamyong, of course, is wrong as well. They could have had these deals up to now and still be mismanaging the entire economy and government of Trinidad and Tobago if they had won the elections. Pointing to past performance, Ramdeen noted that NGC generated roughly $7 billion over the previous decade under former leadership, marred by substantial losses in 2020 and 2023. Compared to $21.6 billion earned between 2010 and 2015. UNC is always better than when it pertains to managing our country. The problem right now that we have is that individuals like Roger Alexander and John Jeremy are encouraging Kamala to use an SOE to fight crime, and that is not democratic, and it is destroying the reputation of the UNC. Company financial records indicate that 2020 losses resulted from pandemic-driven market crashes, while 2023 figures were impacted by $1.8 billion in downstream asset impairment charges. The 2025 financial summary showed no such impairment deductions. NGC executive management declined to take questions from reporters following the presentation.
that in the year ended 31st December 2025, the National Gas Company of Trinidad and Tobago, under my leadership, under the leadership of the Honorable Kamala Persad-Bissessar as Prime Minister, will announce today that the after-tax profits are $3.468 billion. Between 2020 and 2025, recorded two losses on its books. In 2020, the National Gas Company recorded a loss of $2.3 billion. And in 2023, they recorded another loss of $1.3 billion. That is what we met when we went into the National Gas Company. We have increased the profits of the National Gas Company by 111%. And 2026 will be even better. We have increased the return on equity by over 100%, Minister. We have increased the return on assets by over 100%. Anybody who tells you they lay the foundation for that, don't worry about them. When we went into the National Gas Company, the operating expenses for the NGC was $1.7 billion. $1.7 billion was the operating expenses, and they were returning a profit of 1.6. In the 6 months that we were there, we cut the operating expenses of the NGC by over $500 million.
Public Utilities Minister Barry Padarath has dismissed claims of state interference after police revoked permission for a planned communication workers' union demonstration outside TSCT House in Port of Spain. And this is why the SOE needs to come to an end. Because citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, including members of any union, should be able to peacefully protest anywhere in Trinidad and Tobago without restrictions. Also, we should be able to have the rights to privacy in our homes. Stop invading people's homes without a warrant. And most of all, well, not most of all, also important, people should have the rights to be able to be released from custody if there's no evidence to prove that they committed a crime. Stop using PDOs to detain individuals. The response follows statements from CW Secretary General Joanne Ojer, who questioned whether senior officials intervened to block the union's actions. I'm wondering that too. I somehow or the other, I don't find something weird. Something is definitely weird. The protest was called off early morning when officers from the Central Police Station informed Ojer at 6 a.m. that approval granted the previous day had been rescinded. She should take it to court. Police reportedly cited state of emergency regulations which restrict public demonstrations within 500 meters of designated locations, including the nearby Ministry of Finance. You didn't know that before you approved it the first time? Yeah? Waste of time, TTPS. Padarath rejected suggestions of intimidation or government involvement, advising the union leadership to seek direct clarification from the Commissioner of Police rather than creating sinister motives. Well, Guevara, tell us, man, what went on? You just realized and remembered? Well, if you were forgetting things so easily, what were really going on with you? He reiterated that the administration respects the constitutional rights of citizens and trade unions to demonstrate peacefully within legal boundaries. Brother man, Padarath, the legal boundaries includes any area, any building that belongs to the government. It's only because there's a state of emergency, people are being restricted from those areas. So you can miss me with the legal boundaries, utter nonsense. Because it seems as though you all want to keep this SOE in place for the next 3.5 years. So people will never have the rights to protest against your government. You can miss me with that, Padarath. You can miss me with that. The aborted rally stems from an escalating wage dispute, with Ojer insisting that TSTT and the union previously negotiated a 10% wage increase across 2 3-year periods, a claim Padarath and TSTT management have firmly denied. All right. Despite the setback, the union maintains it will pursue further action regarding the ongoing negotiation. Now, if the members of the unions lying, then prove it. Show evidence. But at the end of the day, they have the rights to be able to protest.
Weather report for Trinidad and Tobago on Monday, August 24, 2026. On Monday, August 24, 2026, Trinidad and Tobago is expected to experience partly cloudy to cloudy conditions with a high temperature of 30 degrees Celsius and a low of 24 degrees Celsius, accompanied by a light presence of mild Saharan dust. The morning will start off fair, but cloud cover will build from late morning through the afternoon, bringing a few light to moderate showers and a medium chance of an isolated heavy shower or thunderstorm. In the vicinity of heavy showers or downpours, gusty winds are likely and localized street or flash flooding may occur. Sea conditions will remain moderate with open water waves peaking around 1.5 meters. Individuals sensitive to air quality changes should take necessary precautions due to the mild haze from Saharan dust.
Regional news now. A business delegation from Taiwan is expected to visit St. Vincent and the Grenadines to explore potential investment opportunities. Prime Minister Dr. Godwin Friday made the disclosure while reporting on his recent visit to Taiwan, where discussions focused on strengthening bilateral relations, investment, and economic cooperation. The Prime Minister said the government welcomes foreign investors, noting that investment can contribute to economic growth and national development. Of course, definitely. Foreign investment is always important. Dr. Friday said potential investment opportunities have been identified in areas including tourism and solar energy, something we need to focus a lot more on here in Trinidad and Tobago, as discussions continue on ways to expand economic cooperation between the two countries. The Prime Minister also disclosed that interest in the Otley Hall Marina project was explored during his visit and said he is looking forward to the project getting underway.
And so here's what we have is there's an interest in persons coming as a business delegation, local business people from Taiwan, to come here to look for business opportunities to help us with the development. That is from my angle of our country, by investing in productive activities. For them, they're looking for ways in which they can make money. I mean, that's what business is about. And for those persons who think that, it's otherwise, then you're dreaming in Technicolor. People are coming here to look for opportunities, and we are providing those opportunities because they benefit us in essentially getting our economy moving, vibrant, creating jobs, creating more services, creating opportunities for small businesses to tap into larger businesses to provide services. That's the way our economy grows. In helping with our energy transition, for example, in solar power, in that meeting, I had at least 2 or 3 persons come up to me and wanted to have very detailed conversations on the floor about the possibilities of solar. And of course, they get cut off because somebody has come and, engage in a conversation, and you move and you flow through the room. That's the environment what it was. But the point is that there's a lot of interest. So that's one area of interest that there is. There is also in tourism investment, that's a fairly broad area. What I've asked them, I said, look, we need to get some people to invest in hotel development, particularly in the mainland, because we need to create space. I mean, I hear at Carnival time that people want to come home, they want flights, ready to come to book flights, but they can't find places to stay on mainland, and they have to cancel and so forth. We can't have that happening, When we are attractive, we need to be able to facilitate people to come to the country. Then another area that's a lot of interest is in the Otley Hall Marine and Shipyard. This is something that is, we went to Kaohsiung, which is a city down on the southern part of Taiwan. We visited 2 shipyards, a large sort of, mega shipyard, building tankers and all kinds of ships. And then there was a smaller one that Horizon company that they build mega yachts, all tailor-made to the customer's needs. And they took us through one of them, and I thought, well, this is a retirement project, maybe in another 100 years for me. But it was nice to see, that they were building these boats, and what they said, some of their customers in Miami, and they said, Prime Minister, some of these boats sail through your waters. And I said, you're quite right about that. So we have to find ways in which we can link. You build them, we could maintain them, So we find these kinds of connections.
International news now. Federal authorities turned to former mob underboss Salvatore Sammy the Bull Gravano to evaluate a central element in the 8647 case against former FBI Director James Comey. I don't believe that James Comey was unaware of what he meant. He can miss me with that. Investigators questioned Gravano to determine whether Comey, who previously served as a federal mob prosecutor, would understand the term 86 as shorthand for murder. Gravano told agents Comey had to know the term's connection to violence, explaining that while the slang often means to remove or discard something, organized crime members associated with killing someone. So why would you repeat it? Why would you say that, Comey? Despite Gravano's statements, key evidence linking Comey to that specific interpretation remains absent. But let's just see. Gravano acknowledged that he had no record of ever discussing the term with Comey. It doesn't matter. The man must have been aware of what. Why has he deleted it? He knew it was controversial. He knew it was wrong. And FBI searches of past Gambino case files yielded no references to 86. So what? You look at them trying to make excuse. Somebody in the FBI still trying to make excuse for the man. Miss me with that. Comey continues to contest federal charges stemming from an online photo of seashells arranged to form the numbers, maintaining that the post carried no violent intent. What it meant, Comey? You playing Sesame Street? You just love numbers? You count, one count? Miss us with that. Folks, that brings us to the end of today's headline news. Thanks again to everyone who continues to support my content. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stay blessed and stay safe most of all. In Jesus' name.